Okay, so thank you everyone for coming today. I appreciate you taking time out in your busy diaries to attend this webinar on Microsoft Teams and enabling the phone system. My name's Scott, I work for Primetel. We are independent consultants that work with organizations looking to make a change with their IT, technology, communications infrastructure. The reason we put this webinar together today was really addressing demand in the market. Since March, we've been running a series of webinars covering various topics, but mostly focused around remote worker enablement and how to extend your workforce out to the field, whether that's working from home or ultimately working from anywhere. How can you do that effectively, minimizing impact and improving performance? We've seen that happen in a few ways through deployments of networks such as SD-WAN, but more importantly, it's about moving the communications infrastructure of your organization into the cloud, whether that's through hosted telephony or contact center. During this time that we find ourselves in with the current pandemic, technology is really ramped up. Unified communications has really come to the forefront in terms of business drivers, and as a result, we've seen Microsoft Teams really accelerate the uptake and demand in that market. We've been speaking to a number of companies that have been on this journey, is evaluating whether they go for an independent provider of unified communications or whether they take advantage of Microsoft's own offering. A number of companies we've spoken to have done that, but perhaps haven't realized the alternatives in how to improve on the phone system functionality within Microsoft Teams. Microsoft are an excellent provider of software, but not necessarily built for delivering voice-grade networks and business support. So the purpose of today is to showcase two suppliers that all can enable the phone system functionality within Teams and help improve on the integration of Teams, the performance of Teams, and ultimately help reduce costs. As I said, my name's Scott. I work for Primetel. We can help you investigate where you are further on this journey, help you with the solution design, supplier selection, and all the way up through contract negotiation. We can help leverage our past experience to your commercial advantage. Ultimately, the purpose of today is for us to have follow-up conversations after this to understand where you are on that journey, whether we look at investigating the suppliers in more detail that are showcasing today, or whether there's other areas that we can help you with. So for now, I will hand over to Shams at SCB Global, who will take you through their proposition.
Thank you, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I'm going to be sharing my screen, and I'll check with the producer to ensure everybody can see what I'm sharing. All okay, Caitlin?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
perfect.
Live, yeah.
So my name is Shams Khan. I work for SCB Global as a principal solutions consultant. I get involved in 3 Ds, that is the discovery, design, and deployment of UCaaS and CCaaS solutions, especially around Microsoft Teams. The presentation that we've put together today is going to be in 2 parts. The first part being to take the people who have attended or joining today to understand and help you understand the trends that are there in Microsoft Teams, the economic and social impact on a very high level basis, and then move on into the SCB global proposition and how do we fit into this space of Microsoft Teams. Naturally, as Scott mentioned and highlighted, given the times we are in, collaboration and real-time collaboration, in fact, has become much of a need than nice to have. As a result, Microsoft Teams has become the darling of the collaboration space. As a result, Microsoft Teams daily active user count has been skyrocketing pretty much quarter by quarter. The recent statistics that we have from Microsoft states that they have about 115 million daily active users, And another stat that they released which is the first time they've ever released it, is 30 billion daily collaboration minutes are being spent on Microsoft 365 stack. So you can imagine the amount of time that's being spent in the Office suite. That includes Teams and various other applications as well for collaboration. Further to that, there has also been some other changes that Microsoft is doing. Not only the name of their license that they've changed from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, they're also looking to retire Skype for Business Online with a hard stop of July 2021. Currently in this space, we know from the stats, once again, there are close to 250 plus million daily Microsoft 365 license users globally. And what's interesting from that is Microsoft has had various products since they've launched, but Teams has been one of the fastest growing product ever in their history. So much so that it's outflanked its own product sets and broken its own records, as well as the proprietary vendors in this space. They have been outflanked so much so that it's pretty much, if you were to look at Gartner Magic Quadrant, every single provider is now looking to find a way to connect with Microsoft to sell their platform. So that just speaks volume in itself. The license space that we talked about of 250 million, what we find is out of those large pool of users and out of the pool of users that are using Teams, we find only 1% are using Teams with voice or using Teams in the manner it should be from a UCaaS perspective. So there's a large pool of silos being created here when it comes to communication, collaboration, and chat. In addition to that, we are also getting some statistics around the UK workforce. And again, these stats are changing pretty much by the day. But what we have as of when I checked last week is 49% of UK workforce is looking or currently working from home. And some Gartner reports are now saying that 74% of not UK, but international workforce is looking to try and find a way of working remotely because they find it to be more efficient. And it is, again, coupled with some other statistics that we found when COVID and the pandemic hit, only 12% of businesses were ready to deal with this catastrophe. Many organizations jumped onto finding UCaaS products or collaboration tools, creating multiple silos, resulting in times being wasted for their own staff. So instead of becoming more efficient as an app or a cloud platform, it became an efficiency blocker. Some of them reported 60 minutes of the time would be wasted hopping from one app to another, or sometimes a file is sent to another app and you're checking for a different tool, etc. And some of the staff also reported that the loss of concentration also was a factor that was added into the mix. So moving into the, substantiating what I've shared so far, the recent announcement from Gartner Magic Quadrant, we see that Microsoft is clearly outflanked all the other competitors and peers in this space and become a leader in a very short space of time, has had a journey from proprietary software vendors saying it's a light touch PBX to the space that every other vendor is now looking to connect and integrate and find a way to connect into Teams so they can sell their own solutions as well. And there's some economic impact. Again, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but this was from Forrester, one of the consulting firms who have done a report. Once again, if you would wish to have access to it, we can pass this over to you via Scott from Primetel, so you can read through this in your own time. In addition to that, the impact of Microsoft has also shifted some of the other industry trends that we've seen. Salesforce recent acquisition with Slack, which is where the actual battle of Microsoft started with Slack. That has happened last week. Facebook is also trying to enter the omni-channel customer experience space with the acquisition of Customer. Facebook has a product known as Facebook for Workplace. And recently, even Cisco has done an acquisition to enter the communication platform as a service space, demonstrating the impact that Microsoft Teams is having for other vendors as well to pivot and try and focus on building and strengthening their communication stack. Lastly, this is again just to highlight the ROI and the benefits from a net present value and payback if you were to use Microsoft Teams. In partnership with an experienced partner who can help you build that UCaaS and CCaaS strategy, you would be looking at some returns and benefits which are listed in this Forrester report. So if you were to decode options, because there is a lot of noise in this space, how to cut through the noise, we've tried to simplify this and put it into options, although there are many flavors of vanilla out there. So first option ranging from Microsoft Direct, so you can go to Microsoft, get a calling plan from them, and you can be ready to kick the tires with the PBX offering. It's limited, it has certain capabilities, quick to install and deploy, but it has a DIY type of model. The other model would be direct routing, whereby a business or an enterprise would be able to use a term that Microsoft coined known as direct routing, where you can bring your own carrier, you can bring your own SBC that are certified by Microsoft, host it yourself, design it yourself, and plug in some SIP trunks. And all of that has to be done by yourself for each and every single office of yours. The third option would be a direct routing, also known as direct routing as a service or a hosted SBC model, where you can find a partner who can do centralized SBC for yourselves. Then they potentially may be a carrier for you, or they will find a carrier for you, and then you will be able to use some of those services there. And all of these have different benefits or limitations, etc., which again, given the time constraints, we cannot cover them all, but we're happy to do all of that, and that's the part of the consultancy that Primetel would offer in conjunction with SCB Global. The option 4 is looking at direct routing once again, but going through a third-party connector, then connecting another PBX to that Teams environment, and creating a solution of multiple PBXs together. Once again, it alters the Microsoft experience. Microsoft doesn't certify this type of solution, something to bear in mind, and it also requires naturally CSP, that's Cloud Solution Provider expertise, as well in this space. The fifth option would be Microsoft integration. There are floating around now, where that's like bots and plugins and apps. Once again, this is a great feature to have, but when it comes to a native team experience, it's not really native. It's not, once again, not certified by Microsoft, not supported by Microsoft, and it breaks the Microsoft Teams experience in essence. Lastly, when it comes to native, because this word is being thrown around quite a lot, what is native, what's not native? We have to define that now, because the lines have been blurred with so many different options out there. It's known as direct routing once again, because that's the certified route, carrier hosted architecture, and an architecture such as SCB Global, who have built it on Azure, built it on Microsoft Bot Framework, leveraging Microsoft Cognitive Services and various other components that complement the Microsoft UI, as opposed to creating another PBX in the background and creating another silo. So that's there for you in terms of decoding the options. And if you wish to explore further, happy to take you through all of this once again by organizing a session with Primetel to have a deep dive. Moving on further, changing gears into our proposition as SCB. As a good position to start would be, who is SCB, where we come from. SCB stands for Simple Call Business. We often get confused for session border controllers, which we don't complain about, because that's exactly what we do. In terms of our history, we were born in about 2004 under a parent carrier providing voice interconnects at the time when ISDN was at its peak and IP-based connection was in its infancy. We evolved from there. As the industry took its turn, we carried minutes and traffic for various carriers around the world. In telecoms, it's very common to compete with each other, but also complement and buy from each other in the background. SCB Global was a product under Zamer with our carrier pedigree, with our service provider experience and carrier grade network. We came out of Zamer as an independent company, providing these market-leading enterprise voice solutions and greater coverage to cut the carrier code, so we can break those silos that exist in the procurement side, in the operations side, and as well as in the technology. We've been a Microsoft partner for 10 years, working with Microsoft even way before when it was cool, such as Skype, Link, and obviously with Microsoft Teams as well. As industry moved along, so did we. We started off as SCB Global, empowering global business. Then we moved into enabling global business. And as of 2020, we have an ethos of optimizing global business, leveraging our expertise from carrier grade service provider side, as well as Microsoft expertise coupled together, and a platform that we built known as Opto for Teams, Opto referring to optimization and business transformation. And in addition to that, as we see that the edge has also changed, edge meaning we all are working from home, our home environment and broadband has become a lot more of paramount essence. To have quality of service is important, to have security is important. So we launched Opto for Edge that allows businesses and enterprises to secure the environment, even though they might be not working in a home environment, they might not be working in the business environment, by providing this Opto for Edge layer, as well as optimize your team's traffic in your space wherever you may be. You can even deploy this into your central data centers. You can deploy this in your home environment, doesn't really matter. So that's a quick overview of SCB, what we do. We like to make this claim and we substantiate that claim. We are the only Microsoft Team partner that can offer a complete and a native Teams integration. And just to give you a quick snippet of this, in this session, we will take you through some of that. And once again, happy to welcome any questions or even have a discovery workshop to help you understand what is our Teams story, so you can get maximum returns from your Microsoft Teams investment. Usually we find lots of companies and organizations have lots of vendors, which was the norm, which has been the case. That's not a problem. So you may have a network and connectivity partner, but as the rise of applications and cloud technologies happen, network and connectivity becomes the oxygen and the bedrock to your PBX and telephony. So does for your collaboration and conferencing and your contact center and customer experience. So to have various platforms and vendors of having connectivity with various platform vendors requires optimization. So some opted to go out for SD-WAN and SD security as well. Naturally, you have complexity, finger pointing, guesswork, and various other challenges, even from a procurement perspective. So the obvious question is, how does SCB help? What SCB does is to provide a full house single vendor approach, breaking those silos, breaking those capabilities that you have into a single hand to shake, a single pane of glass experience by our expertise from a carrier grade service provider. So we can start your journey moving from ISD into SIP as day one, help you migrate into your Teams journey as you like. We can connect to any PBX that you may have with our Opto for Teams PBX connector. Move you into a UCaaS, CCaaS space by building that strategy pretty much in a solution-led, a consultative manner. Remove the guesswork that you may potentially have. Remove the finger pointing, because the underlying technology or the bedrock that is powering these applications is also it's like in a black box. So we enable all of that with our Opto for Edge, and actually contact center becoming much more important in this day and age to provide omni-channel customer experience. We enable that as well. That is, once again, wrapped all together with our Microsoft expertise and Microsoft partnership. So just to give you a quick snapshot of terms of what we can do when it comes to augmenting your Microsoft Teams experience or Teams investment with what we talked about, your full house. We can integrate to any CRM, omni-channel contact center can be provided, advanced PBX functions, should you require any, DR capabilities, which are very important once again when it comes to SLA, KPIs, and keeping business running regardless of COVID or not. Global reach and coverage, MACDs, that's moves, adds, changes, and deletes. So if you have Microsoft Teams, you require a Microsoft partner who can help you with that. It's a key component that is underpinned when it comes to your team service. So it's important to have an experienced partner who can enable and help you guide and advise in this space. And naturally, if there's fraud detection, and I'm going to open the rest as well. Reporting, we leverage Power BI for reporting. So once again, you can see when we talk native, we are embedding ourselves into the native Teams experience, and compliant call recording within the Microsoft space as well. So just to give you a quick snapshot, and I'll wrap this up without taking too much of your time. We start off as a breaking silos, Opto for Teams first flavor that we call it. If the interface is Teams, we don't try and bring another app or a widget or a connector. into this, and as you see as an example here, you'll be able to get the same experience that is invisible to your end user inside Microsoft Teams with our Opto for Teams Connect capability. Second layer, if you wanted to add contact center space, you get all the bells and whistles, all the digital channels as well, leveraging Power BI with the FAQ bots. Advanced routing can be run inside Teams standalone or in any CRM as long as there's an API for it. Call recording, there are various call recording options out there, even for Teams, but there are very few who are certified and native for Teams. Just to give you a quick snapshot, our Teams call recording sits inside Teams, leverages the UI of Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Cognitive Services. So you're able to get that seamless experience with Power BI reporting and also managing and controlling the different modalities for your call recording. And it also ticks the boxes for MiFID II PCI compliance as well. Lastly, which is an area that is of importance, but very rarely we see people talking about it, when it comes to security and compliance. Teams is lots of channels and groups. How do you ensure that the channels and groups are maintained, and there is if there is any sensitive data that's being shared, that data is being purged, or there is a preventative mechanism out there? So we have a product called Opto Shield, once again, that complements the Microsoft stack that allows you to create ethical wall and DLP. It's real-time DLP. Microsoft does have something called information barriers that's near real-time, but ours is real-time that allows you to purge any sensitive file that may be potentially be attempted to share in a group or a chat or to a certain individual. And once again, we can talk through this in detail. Should this be of interest to you? Within this Opto Shield product, there's other capabilities as well that I'll open up the cards here, so you can get e-discovery, channel management, and compliance recording. Lastly, to wrap this up, why SCB? Simple. We have a global pedigree with service provider expertise with full stack that we define in a way. We can walk through that. In terms of our coverage, it spans up to 160 plus countries. We can enable Microsoft Teams wherever it's legal. That's 181 countries today. We just recently done a project in Uruguay, very difficult country, but we have enabled a large enterprise customer there for the Microsoft Teams requirement. We have multiple Azure POPs to complement the Microsoft 365 stack. And that is why we call our native experience. We are a solution-led organization that leverages crawl, walk, and run as an approach. We can enable your journey in Teams today, no matter what PBX you have, and then help you to become fully Teams enabled at the pace that you want to be, going through these phases. We have a great portfolio depth when it comes to providing UCaaS and CCaaS solutions, as well as optimizing those applications with our Opto for Edge platform. Wrap this with our Microsoft experience, so you get a single pane of glass as an expert vendor for your business critical applications or communication needs. We also tick the boxes from a compliance perspective that we touched upon. We have an end-to-end managed solution on our 24/7 365 support globally. And we are a Microsoft Silver partner today, very soon to be a gold partner. We anticipate this to be in Jan 2021, putting SCB Global in the 2% of the elite Microsoft Gold Partner Club. That's it from myself. Any questions, I'll welcome them in this session, or even after. You can book this with Primetel. And now I'll pass over to Neil from SIPPIO.
Yeah, thanks, Shams. Just before we go over to Neil, just a reminder, guys, if anyone wants to ask questions, there's a Q&A box, a little button at the bottom. If you just once that fires up, just ask the questions there and we'll run through them at the end. Don't be shy. We're happy to help. Over to you, Neil.
Scott, can I just confirm you can see the slides?
Yep, in the standard view, not present.
Yeah, that's fine. Let me just get those into full frame. Okay, Shams, thank you for the oversight. What I want to do today is continue with the theme. Firstly, let's look at what's happening in the world of UCaaS, and then of course we will share some details around how SIPPIO can enable you to transition from existing environment into a Teams integrated environment. The first thing we're seeing is a resurgence of how voice is being used. I think it's fair to say 3-4 years ago, people were thinking that SMS and other modality was going to take over how people worked together and communicated. But firstly, we've seen the resurgence of voice, and more lately, for obvious reasons, with the requirement to work from anywhere. Voice is becoming an integral part of how people operate, how they communicate internally, how they communicate with clients. So from that point of view, and just to share some numbers as well, I won't replay what you heard a little earlier, but yes, there is something in the region of 260 million users in Microsoft 365. We see around 30,000 organizations moving into Teams on a monthly basis. We know that is good data because Microsoft publish it in their quarterly reports. So anybody on this call, courtesy of Scott and the team, if you are looking at this journey from existing environment to how to leverage your Office 365 and your Teams environment, firstly, you're in good company. There's a lot of people making that journey. Secondly, we'd be delighted to join Scott and yourself on a call to share some of those insights. And thirdly, probably the most important number that Gartner and Microsoft share with us in the marketplace is of those organizations moving into Teams, the number is now above 70% of organizations recognizing that they need to have some form of voice in Microsoft Teams or cloud-based telephony. So the old world of on-premise PBX, maybe the initial cloud-based PBX, is not really supporting those organizations. Now, obviously driven by major changes in the last 10 months. But that is a well-trodden path now. And again, we'd be delighted to share with you, the journeys that we've supported, more importantly, what clients are demanding of us as an industry to support them. And again, what else are we hearing? Well, most importantly, clients are looking for ease, accessibility, avoiding the need to build. So again, we've captured some of the key challenges that we are set, and I'll explain how SIPPIO helps answer for these in a few minutes. But the marketplace is generally looking for that ease of activation, certainly whether you call it subscription or consumption, but paying for what they use, rather than being forced to commit to 12, 24 or 36 months agreements. Wherever possible, something that is turnkey, so it's ready for consumption, it's ready for service. And ultimately bringing an element of voice expertise. And this is where obviously Scott and his team, can provide you with that consulting service. We will support, you and they in that conversation. But an element of the Microsoft desktop is voice. As I've mentioned, there's many clients moving into the use of Teams and the adoptions of Teams as that single pane of glass. But we recognize that adopting voice in Microsoft Teams is the last 20% of that journey. Now, one could argue it's the most important 20%, and I'll explain why in a second or two. But again, having that accessibility to voice expertise is important in that journey. And as you can hopefully see from the session today, that is available in ample amounts. For you to consume, to help you with your decisioning, and ultimately, moving forward on that basis. Wherever you are currently with your telephony, there is either a well-trodden path or a program or a set of tools that will help you move from either analog devices or legacy on-premise PBX, or as Shams was saying, the impending need to move away from Skype for Business environments as Microsoft obviously look to cease investment in that and then move clients into Teams. So again, we're happy to share, and we're delighted to share use cases with you, how programs and tools can help you move from one to the other, but make sure it's in a seamless fashion. Most importantly, enabling that user experience to be amplified as you look to leverage your Teams environment. And again, you've probably heard it many times, even before joining this call. It's important to understand how you wish to operate. As organizations, you can obviously choose standalone PBX solutions if you think that is the right thing for yourself. Now, by the fact you've joined the call and you're interested in how Teams and voice in Microsoft Teams can enable you to become more productive and provide a better experience for your organization, it's important to work through and understand what is true integration and what is something that may be an integration or an API link. Again, As Shams mentioned, SCB, certainly SIPPIO, we focus very much on delivering native integration. So what you have is a native Teams experience. You're utilizing what is already in Teams in the way of the phone system and the dial pad. And we are enabling that use and the carrier services behind it. We bring the talk and listen to what is already in that environment. And of course, with that, quite rightly, you'd be looking at security as a major requirement. I'll explain how that is answered in a few moments. So again, these are demands that are put upon us by our clients, both large and small. Our smallest client is our lawyer on the West Coast or the East Coast with 7 or 8 seats. Our largest client ranges up to 100,000 seats. So we have a truly scalable solution that is, again, ready for consumption. But all of these demands generally are top of mind for organizations as they are going into that discovery phase and then execution phase of moving from existing environment to the new world. Now, talking of which, just to share with you what we are seeing, and this may well resonate with your good selves. On the left-hand side, you can see the traditional on-premise PBX provider. Now, some of those organizations have shifted to provide a cloud option to their services. In the middle, you're seeing what could be argued as the original cloud PBX providers. There's other names, of course, but we've just grabbed 2 or 3 for the purpose of this slide. And on the right-hand side, as you see nowadays, and amplified by the news last week of Salesforce acquiring or agreeing to acquire Slack, you're seeing the collaboration era. Now, what we're actually seeing is organizations that are over on the left-hand side are actually consciously choosing to leapfrog the traditional cloud PBX provider and move straight into that collaboration space. So again, it possibly resonates and amplifies your thinking. Again, we recognize and appreciate you've joined us on this call today. But as far as a market trend, we are certainly seeing organizations move from existing into that collaboration space. Now, with anybody that's invested in any form of Microsoft, there's 2 or 3 things that spring to mind. And let me just share with you some insights again. You may well see this in some of our marketing and social media, but we do spend time working with clients to help both achieve but also overcome some challenges in this space. Many people look at the investment they've made in Microsoft and go, right, how does that get optimized? How can we drive real value from the investment made and top that up with something like putting voice into Microsoft Teams and remove our cost and investment in traditional or legacy on-premise devices? As we've shared and we've all had to adopt and learn, how do we remain productive in an environment where working from anywhere is now the demand, not sort of the luxury, but in doing so, make sure that we can offer agility to our workforce. Now, with all 3 of these, there's further questions that have to be answered. Again, sometimes when we talk to a client, first thing on top of mind is, right, how can I optimize what I've invested in? How can I monetize further my investment without having to build a second or third layer of technology? And this is where the integrated voice options in Microsoft Teams are critical, because you can extend and further your return on investment rather than possibly having to consider or buy a cloud-based PBX solution that pulls some of the workflows out of Teams and could almost be a duplication. Certainly it will pull the calling out of Teams, and it may well pull the collaboration out of Teams. And again, we've had many clients look at this and realize that having one and a single pane of glass is the best place to be, and therefore driving an outcome of integration in that Teams environment. And we fully anticipate and respect that some clients may choose otherwise, which is absolutely fine. Again, this is about what's best for you, and ultimately how either a financial driver is key, or in the case of these other areas, productivity may be key, giving your team that ability to be productive wherever they're working from, but also finding that balance. And again, if you've followed articles recently, we'll happily share those via Scott and the team. Initially during the summer, it was how to enable people to work from home and those challenges that it created. Now it's more about, okay, this is going to become a little longer term than everybody anticipated. How do we make sure people are productive? But more importantly, there is a beginning and end to the day. Last but by no means least, but again, just amplifying that, enabling clients and workforces and mobile workforces to be agile. We've got example cases, and there's one particular client in London, 3 public sector organisations that have effectively exited their traditional office. They have combined and pooled resources to build or adopt a new physical building. They've turned it into a coffee shop, as they call it. So they enable their employees to come into work 2 days a week, work from home 3 days a week. So effectively, it's a hot desking environment. So they get the best of both worlds, which is traveling when you want to work in town, have a notebook, a tablet, and some headphones, and you can work from anywhere. But again, we're seeing this now take effect in both public and private sector, but also with a view of looking longer term. So that coffee shop environment is a great case study, and one we'll be delighted to share a little bit more detail about. Now, as far as what we bring to the table, and again, just one slide on us, so you understand a little more about SIPPIO itself. We are a East Coast headquartered company providing global carrier services across 60 countries, on 48 of which we can replace what is classified as PSTN services, so the traditional local telephony services. It is important that we enable you to migrate at your pace. We recognise that whilst, again, this is a ready for consumption service that is out of the box and can be enabled within an hour for your good selves, ultimately you do want to migrate at your pace, whether it be by number of people or business units or offices. So that can all be supported and obviously enabled as you look to migrate. From a commercial perspective, it's important that we offer flexible terms. So whether you're looking at trialing this or more importantly having the ability to scale up or down, the commercial terms are very flexible. We're not looking to tie you into 3 or 5 year terms. Ultimately, this is about one of enablement and supporting your journey, which I think is very important this day and age, as we have to operate and adjust how we operate in the future way, or for the future. Again, we'd love to join you on some calls via Scott and the team. We can share with you how the architecture is built. But again, it is globally redundant. We are hosted in 5 Azure DCs with 2 secondary DCs, so that we provide that global reach, that global consistency, the global redundancy that you would expect from a tier one carrier service. So whether you are UK headquartered with outreach to the global countries, or if you have the requirement for staff to be domiciled globally, we can support you with that. The important thing to remember here is there is no need for you guys to build or code or set up or buy. This is a true cloud service where you pay for a user, and within that service you get everything you see on the screen, including the fact that we are hosted in Microsoft in the Azure environment. So again, it is end-to-end security connecting in the Azure tenant or the Azure data center between respective tenants and services. And as you can see in the center, there's a snapshot, and we can again, through Scott and the team, send out either videos or get a session set up with you, so we can work through the tools that we've built to provide ease of enablement, ease of management for your own services, as we call it, the voice panel. Now, in addition to that, and again, should it be a requirement, things such as call reporting, device as a service, call reporting and call recording, are all available, integrated in and native in that team's environment. Things like contact center. Microsoft itself is on a very aggressive development journey, as you can appreciate, with its investment in Teams and helping clients move into that space. And again, we'd be delighted to share with you where they are on that roadmap, what it means for you as potential clients of that service, but also how very early next year it brings things like contact center into that native environment as well. So again, happy to share all of those roadmaps, future opportunity to integrate further within that Microsoft space. But at the moment, everything you see is available. It integrates natively, and it should give you a very good option to consider compared to where you are at the moment. So I'll stop now, hand back to Scott, and we'd love to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. That was excellent from both of you. I think it's plain to see there's a lot to consider when enabling the phone system element of Teams. It's you can do it so much better than just going to Microsoft and ticking a box and deploying call plans. By working with SCB or SIPPIO, you can look at how that application will integrate into your business and ultimately builds on the user adoptability piece that's already done. When I've spoken to a number of companies over the last few months that have polled their staff internally as to whether they will be going back to the office or remaining to adopt a remote working policy, and pretty much all of them are going to continue with the remote working policy. So it's here to stay. You need, as a business, you need a platform that's going to support that. One of the biggest challenges is user adoptability. It's how you get the employees to use that platform. If you're using Office 365 and you're using Teams already, that piece is already done. You just need to now complete the loop in order that the platform that you're deploying is suitable for your business now, but in the future. So hopefully you all found that useful. I think we've had one question. Do you need an MS Teams voice license with each of the system providers being discussed? So do you want to just, maybe Shams, do you want to just talk about the licensing element that you need?
Sure. Thanks for that question. I think it's anonymous, so whoever you are, thank you. It's a great question, and this is where we talked about decoding options, because there are so many, and there are ways of trying to use Microsoft Teams on the surface and collaborate, but then send a call out, which appears to be that is calls going from inside Teams, but it's actually not in the back end. Without bringing any technical words or terminology, it pretty much creates an interface for you to click and then send the traffic. This particular model, although it may work, is not supported by Microsoft, and it alters the Microsoft experience. For example, if you were to use this method, your presence in Microsoft Teams will not change. Your call traffic and reporting will also be created as a siloed instance, and various other things as well that will happen. When it comes to a native solution that we've been discussing, that will require a Microsoft Teams license. It is supported, it works seamlessly with your platform, and it also gives you an end-to-end visibility that you would be looking to achieve when it comes to using a platform such as Microsoft Teams. So the answer is absolutely yes. You need to get Microsoft Teams PBX or phone system license, as they call it. If you are a SMB user, which is below 300, then you will need to get business voice without calling plans. And the good thing is, or the good news for partners and customers is SCB is a Microsoft partner. We can help you around the licensing. We can even sell you the licenses and provide you the consultancy that you require, which is a critical component of a Teams solution.
Neil, did you want to add anything there? Or that's pretty much covered it?
No, I think, to be fair, I think Shams has answered it eloquently. If you're going holistically into Teams, enjoy that experience and go for it. But yes, you would need a phone system license to bring that element of the Teams solution to life, and then we can bring the talk and listen to it. But nothing further to add. Thank you, Scott.
Yeah, and it's a valid point. There is a lot of confusion as to in terms of what you need to purchase from Microsoft and what you need to purchase elsewhere to build the solution. Either partner can help you understand what it is you might have already, because you might have an A5, you might have an E5. You've already got the phone system, so it's just enabling the direct routing on the back of it. But you might need an upgrade, so we can help you on that journey. So I think that's it for questions. I don't know if anyone else wants to type anything quickly, otherwise I'll just wrap it up. No. So thank you all for coming. I will reach out to you all individually just to get your feedback on this session, but more importantly, understand where you are on the journey, whether it's regards to Teams or whether it's regards to a technology that might be enabling that journey. I will follow up with you all individually, and hopefully we can set up some one-to-one sessions with the guys here. So thank you to the presenters, thank you to the attendees. Hope everyone had a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.